to remind you, you should have received an email, at least those of you who are Naturopathic students, about a raffle. So she wanted me to remind you that the raffle's this weekend, so make sure you send it, or I don't even know, does anybody that's part of NMSA know how you get the raffle tickets? Or?
Yeah, you have to log into the NMSA website, and everyone has a login.
How can you get that?
I would just, if you don't know your password, just say you don't know your password, just send me your information. And that's the best way to do it.
Okay, so you didn't hear that, go to the NMSA website and follow directions there. So we turned it on. Somebody turned it on for me. So what I'm going to try to cover in the time that we have is, well, first I'm going to just kind of introduce, because some people told me they haven't even looked at Evernote yet, they probably don't even know what it's all about. So I'll just kind of give you a little overview of why you might want to use it. I did post some videos on the Moodle under advice and recommendations. Is that feedback happening? Is that better?
Fine, just talk about it.
It's this thing. Okay. So if you go there, you'll see a whole bunch of links that shows you the basic stuff on how to do things in Evernote. So I'm not going to be covering the very, very basics today, because some people have been using it for a little while and they wanted to know how to do a few more things. But you'll kind of get the idea as we go through it, what it's about. So there's tons of links. I've spent a lot of time finding videos on YouTube and stuff so that you can follow along with it. All right, so people are probably wondering why you might want to use Evernote versus something like OneNote, which is a Microsoft platform product, and VoodooPad, which is a Mac-only platform product. What I like about any of those products is that when you're taking notes or collecting data for research, you can have everything in one place. So for all your classes, you have Word documents and PowerPoints, and you can use your search feature on your computer to find things, but then you have to launch each application and open each document separately. So what's nice about all of those products that I mentioned, VoodooPad, OneNote, and Evernote, is that it puts it all in one location. So since I switched to Mac some years ago, I haven't used the OneNote product, but I've heard it's really good with integrating Office documents and PowerPoints and things into it very simply. But for Mac users, that's not really very nice. So I was looking for an alternative solution, and I tried VoodooPad for a while. And that has some great features, but again, with the problem, the limitation was 3 years ago when I started the program was that VoodooPad didn't have a mobile app, and at the time I was getting an iPad, and I wanted to be able to get my information very easily. They've since updated that, but it's a small developer and he's a little lagging behind in some of the features, but it's a really good product if you don't want to spend a lot of money. Although every time he does a major upgrade, he usually charges another $40 to get those features. So what's nice about Evernote is, initially, if you're not sure you're going to use it, you can download it for free and try it. If you like it and you'd like to get some of the features, which I'll show you today, it's $45 a year for the service. And what's really nice about them is that they keep acquiring other software technologies, and they're constantly working to improve it. The other thing, which is really helpful, is it's cross-platform, as you can see. So you can use it on any device, practically, desktop and Mac and Windows, all these different mobile devices, and a web browser. So like if you're at the clinic, in the room with the patient, and you don't have your laptop with you, you can open a browser window and actually see your notes and search on them and find things. And the other thing is that everything synchronizes through their Evernote server. So while the desktop application keeps your notes on your computer, everything's synchronized through their server and backed up. So when you open your app on your iPad or your iPhone, it's there. You don't have to with Voodoo Pay, you have to like set up a synchronized through Dropbox, and it's a little more clunky. So this is why I sort of switched to this, and just a little bit about why am I the one presenting this to you. Before I decided to come back to school, I actually worked in IT for 10 years, mostly doing information architecture and website design, organization, and that kind of stuff. So information organization is sort of where I came from, and it was important to me coming into this program to have a way to access my information quickly. So that was sort of my motivation for sort of trying out the different products. So the other feature that's really cool about Evernote is complete searchability. So they've, in the last year, they've like really enhanced their handwriting searchability. So let me show you this. It seems to be not as bad. So if you're using an iPad, there's an app that Evernote bought called Penultimate, which is like handwriting. So here's an example of a page that was written on the iPad with handwriting, and you can see if I do a search, like Google and I just type in like the word page, what it'll do is it'll find where you wrote the word page all through the document. What you can also do is take pictures of pages that you've handwritten. Well, of course, this depends on your handwriting. You know, you write letters really close together, sometimes it misses things. But you can take pictures of pages that are handwritten and put it in. It will be able to search that. The other thing is examples of images. So if you take images from web pages or websites, or like, this is actually out of a book. Because you know how when you books you have those scratch off codes and you can see the book online. You can actually capture the images for future reference, and then you can do a search. So if I want to do a search for Esther, it'll show me where the word Esther appears in that. So if I'm doing a global search up here in the upper corner for Esther's, this image will come up in my list of possible places that I did a search for Esther's. Okay, and then the other thing, PDFs. A lot of times teachers will give you articles in PDF format, or you'll find a research article online. You can actually just place the PDF on the page. On the desktop, it will show up like that in inline image. And the same thing, I can do a search for Vertigo, and everywhere the word Vertigo appears, it highlights within the document. So if you, it's a really quick way to find stuff that you know, as you start accumulating information. I have 3,500 notes in the last 3 years. Some of that's recipes, you know, see stuff online. But as you're accumulating stuff, sometimes you know, depending on your system of organization or lack thereof, you can find stuff by searching. And it's really helpful to be able to just find things. Okay, and then the other thing is that they just added, which is still a premium only feature, is it'll let you just put Word documents and PowerPoints, drop them in, it'll show it. You can't edit it, but you know, this is a monograph from our Bot Med classes. So when if I wanted to search for leaf, it'll find, you know, the word leaf as it appears in the document. So this is the new, like I said, some of these features are premium only features, and it's, to me, that was worth paying $5 a month or $45 a year. You just, you know, the other benefit of paying for the premium thing is the space that you're allowed. You get like 1 megabyte a month, 1 gigabyte of upload a month, which is quite a bit of space. And if you're putting PowerPoints, excuse me, if you're putting PowerPoints in, those are all images. That will add up very quickly. And I think the free, what I've heard from people that are second years that have tried using the free version for a while, once you start putting a bunch of PowerPoints in from various classes, you run out of space pretty quickly. for the month, and they kind of cut you off. So those are just some features I wanted to kind of highlight to you. And then the other thing is you can capture everything. So if you go to the web, Chrome, they have a built-in web clipper for Chrome that you can install. So let's say I'm doing research on heart disease. I want to look at the risk factors for various conditions. And here's one that talks about cholesterol and blood pressure. Well, you know, the old-fashioned way, you could basically highlight that, copy and paste it into things. What they've done is sort of integrated this, so you can click on the little web clipper, and you can say, I want to just click the article, and you'll see there's a box here. I don't know if you can see that grayish border. I can increase or decrease the size of the selection, so I can decrease it. Now it's just taking that actual information for that the heart disease conditions, and then I can tell it I want to save it, and I can tell it which notebook I want to save it in. So you know, it's all sort of integrated in, and I can say, you know, cardiology, and then hit save, and it clips it right to your Evernote notebook. And then when the next time you open Evernote, it synchronizes. You can go to your cardiology notebook and find it.
Is that just for Google Chrome or is it?
I think they have it for, it's not for Safari.
It is for Safari.
It works in
Is it on
Firefox.
Safari now too? At first they did it for Chrome, so that's, and I use that. Yeah, they added it recently for different browsers, so yeah, it's worth checking out. And this latest version of it's really great because it lets you, let's say I wanted to capture the whole page. You can basically take a screenshot of the whole page, or you can do, you know, bookmark it, you can do the full page. You can say, I want a simplified article, and it'll basically make it look like something that's readable, like a reading thing. And then you can just clip it that way, save it that way. So that is a really nice feature, especially, I mean, I don't know how it is I think with the integrated curriculum that you guys are probably having to do a lot more research on conditions and stuff. So even those of us who are in the clinic or in clinical classes, we often have to go and find, you know, research on various things, or I just go to up to date on a condition and I can just capture that and read it later. Because if I'm not on campus, I can't get to up to date. And sometimes I'm like in a rush and that sort of thing. Yes?
So how do you get that feature? How do you get that little?
So each individual browser, like Chrome has a settings thing, or actually if you go to evernote.com, all the clipping things are on there and you can download it. I think it'll install right into your browser.
It's the app page for.
Yeah, you need to have Evernote first
Yeah.
in your account.
So when you clip it, can you like go in and add notes to it or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you want, I'll show you, this is the web I'm trying to click on it. This is the web version, so you see how similar it looks to the desktop version? Oops. So it just has a little bit different layout. But if I go to cardiology, and look at it, it was called, it's hard to see on here. So it would be there, I just can't find it at the moment. So here's an example of something that I took a picture of, an assignment we did in class, and I can search that now.
Can you just scan those things?
I just took a picture with my phone in Evernote on my phone, and it went right in there. So that's the nice thing, is it's available on all those mobile platforms. So you can actually open the application with your device and see, and take a picture, or put a picture in from your camera, and put it right into a note, right there on the spot. So those are just some of the things I just wanted to show. The other thing is there's a program called Sketch, which I'll show a little bit more. And then the last thing about capturing stuff, so, you know, once you start subscribing to AANP and that sort of thing, they send you stuff all the time, which is sometimes helpful. So like they have these daily clips that they send out every week, which is articles, and they just start piling up in your inbox. And I'm like, well, I might want to reference that later, but I don't want to have to go searching through my email. So when you have an Evernote account, you're given a email address. So I can actually just forward this to my Evernote email account, and I can put which notebook I want it to go into at the end. So I can just say at research, because I have a notebook called research. And then when I send it, it will go into my research notebook, and I don't have to think about it for a while, but then if I'm looking up something, it'll come up in the search. So those are just some things that most people that are here, that want to be here, we can go through some of the more of the how-tos. Does anybody have any questions about that?
How do you find what your Evernote email is?
Okay, so where your account information is, so you click on your name, go to account info, and there's email notes too.
Oh, okay.
So it's automatically assigned to you when you create an account there.
You mentioned earlier that there's a 1 gigabyte upload limit per month, and I'm assuming that's for the syncing with the online account. Is there a limit to, like, if you just use it on your laptop, there would be a limit, right? How much it's
Well, you can see on here, I still have the screen open, see it says my monthly usage is 77 of 1 gig. So, this is I never have gone past like a quarter of the usage. So it's basically how many notes you create. The total amount can't go over 1 gig. 1 gig is a pretty large amount of stuff, so that's what the limit is.
But it doesn't have to do with the online, it's anything you put on your
Right.
desktop.
Oh, okay.
It's just
So
for
it's
your
just
account in general.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, for the general,
Yeah.
alright.
So, say you have all these PowerPoints and you bought the $45 a year trial, it's unlimited, I guess, in that case. When you put all these files on Evernote, or even OneNote, does it take up hard drive space on your computer, or is it all kind of floating?
If you're using the desktop application, it does take up space on your computer.
On your own?
But as you can see, just by my usage amount, it's not very much.
So it's on your computer and in the cloud?
Yeah, it's on your computer and in the cloud. The cloud is the way that it talks to all the devices. So like I have an iPad, iPhone. Okay, so let me show you, let's go to the part on, that most people want to know, is how to put your stuff, your class stuff in to Evernote. So just a few things. There's a few ways to do this. Because Evernote is a web-based product initially, it's simplified coding. All that means is Microsoft products don't really talk well to it. So they've made it so you can drop stuff in there now, but you can't really edit them. So, you know, you have at OneNote, you can just like drag your slideshow in and somehow edit it. So there's 3 ways you can do this. There's what I call the quick and dirty way is, you know, I looked at that PowerPoint, I didn't take any notes, and I want to just be able to search the slides later. So you can just drag it in. I'll show you how to do this in a minute. I'm just telling you the difference. The difference, so you can just drag it onto a note. It's there, you can see it, you can look at the slides, but you can't edit it. You know, it just makes it there searchable. I mean, I think the big thing, and I said this last time I did it, this presentation, is just put stuff there. You know, even if you don't have time to organize it, it's super great. If it's there, you can search it. So a lot of people are like, oh no, I need to get organized, you know, but it's not there, you can't find it. So that's just something to think about. Again, this is a premium only feature that you can put it there and it'll be searchable. The next thing you can do, well, and the other thing is if there's notes that the teacher put or you took underneath in the notes section of PowerPoint, so you know what I'm talking about, the note section, then that won't be there. It'll just be the slides. So the next way to do it is if you like If you're the kind of person that likes taking notes in PowerPoint, in the notes section, at the beginning, the whole thing, like the class is finished, we moved on, then you can print the notes to PDF. So you know how when you print out pages, you can print out like slides, 3 on a page. You can also print out outline or print out, there's one where you can print out notes, and it'll be like the slide with the notes below it. So let me show you what that looks like. So here's a slideshow that I just printed the notes. Oops. So it shows you the slide and the notes that were underneath it. A lot of teachers will have their notes underneath it. So once you're done, you can just print out this PDF and then put the PDF in your Evernote note. And then it's all there, completely searchable. The last thing to do, which is kind of the way that I do it, because I like having it in Evernote and taking notes in Evernote, is you export the slides as pictures, put them in there, and then take notes underneath. So this is a little bit more, it's sort of the original workaround that I had before the PDF thing became available, is you can't, you couldn't edit the PowerPoints in Evernote. So you can basically, so let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna open a PowerPoint presentation. So here's a PowerPoint presentation that you just saw in PDF. In Windows, you have to go to File, Save As, and then where it asks for format, you change that to JPEG. On Macs, they have a shorter cut called Save as Pictures, and you can just say Save as Pictures. And what it'll do is it'll export all of the slides into pictures in a folder. And I didn't do it already, so you can see. Save as Pictures. I don't want that located. There. So it's exporting all of the slides as pictures. Okay. So now there's a folder with all the slides in it. Can you see that? See all the slides? And then I can just select all of them, copy them. You can drag them, but I can't see all these windows. And then paste them in to Evernote. So now I have all the slides as individual images in Evernote. And then I can just click on the edge here, hit enter, and type underneath. The problem is if the teacher had notes underneath the slides, that information didn't come with it. So often what I'll do is while I'm in class, I just kind of follow along and cut and paste. Or if I'm actually have time to preview for a class, who has time to actually preview for a class? I'll, do that ahead of time. I'll move it over and then just copy and paste. It kind of forces you to review what you're going to cover for the day. So this is a little bit more cumbersome, and now that they've enhanced the PDF search function, if you like doing it all in PowerPoint, and because a lot of people like to change notes on the actual slide and then take notes underneath. When you're done, just save it as a PDF. So let's see what that looks like. Let me take that out. Here's the PDF of that same PowerPoint with the notes in it. You just copy and paste it in the note. And now it's there with the notes underneath. You can't read them, it's really small. And it'll be searchable. So any questions about that? I know I kind of went through that pretty quick.
So if I upload a PowerPoint or PDF or whatever to Evernote, and then I go back on my computer and make changes,
In
does it
PowerPoint.
automatically sync the two? And
If you change anything in PowerPoint, you have to put it in again.
okay, so it's not going to go and grab something and sync it without my
Right.
knowledge.
Right. So that's kind of why I like the other way of putting the pictures in and taking my notes and kind of staying within Evernote, because otherwise it gets a little confusing going back and forth. But you have to decide what works for you. Let me just
So
with
you
these.
have to always be online then when you're doing it.
Well, not the, once you put it in Evernote, if it's on your desktop, it's on your computer. The only time you need to be online is when you, try to use the web version. Does that make sense?
Oh, so you can make all the changes in Evernote on your computer, but then you tell it when to upload?
No, it just synchronizes every so often.
Well, that's what I mean, so if you change something on Evernote on your computer,
Oh, yeah,
it's going to sync, it's just gonna automatically sync.
yeah.
Okay.
So I thought you were asking if I change something in PowerPoint, will it change in Evernote? No. Those
Okay,
two things
okay,
are-
that's, okay. It's good to have both.
Okay, so here's the pictures in here again, the slides as pictures in here again. So what's nice is they bought this product called Sketch. So let me go back over here. I'm gonna use a different slideshow. So I have these slides in here, and they bought this product called Sketch, which lets you mark up the slides. So if you have the slides in Evernote already, and you're taking notes underneath, you can actually, if you wanna do something to the slide, you can't really edit the text, but you can kind of mark it up. So that's what I did on this slide here, is I just was like, oh, I need to know the slide, you know? I can highlight stuff, I can put little tags. So the way you do that is, well, you have to have Sketch installed, but they have this button here that they added called Markup this note. If you click that, it'll show you all the notes or slides that you have within that presentation. That kind of is problematic if you have 100, because it's like a bunch of these little bitty squares that you can't really see what it is. So you can actually highlight the thing you want to mark up and right-click or command-click for Mac users, control-click for non-Mac users, and say mark up this image. It'll open it in Sketch, and then I can just like draw boxes on it, you know, add text. If they say, like say a teacher says, oh, that's not what I meant, you can blur it out, you know. So you can kind of do a little bit of marking up within Evernote with the Sketch integration.
So can you also do that in the PDF format then, or
Yes.
just in this slide?
You can do it in PDFs also. So here's an example of a PDF. That was the next thing I was gonna show. Here's a PDF. See, it's not editable, it's like kind of there to view. On the PDFs, they just recently added this. I think they're not gonna get that far with the Microsoft stuff, because Microsoft's probably stopping them from doing it, but they added the little markup tool on the little bar here. So if I click that, it'll open it in Sketch, and I can be, you know, I can say, oh, here's this key recommendations I really need to, oops, change it to a square. You know, I can mark stuff up. There's a highlighter tool so you can highlight key things. And then when I close this box, it just changes the PDF that's in line. And that's like really, really new, like in the last few weeks, where you could actually mark it and just close it and come back instead of having to like kind of work around it and put it back in there.
Is that part of premium? Sketch, is that part of premium?
Sketch is free. No, Sketch is not necessarily premium. Sketch is free too, but it's like you might as well get it if you're getting the other one. Yeah, it's nice too. Like they have it for the phone, so if you have a picture or you're trying to send somebody directions, you can kind of draw it on your phone and message it to them. So, okay, so where are we? So those are those are the few ways to do the PowerPoint thing. So who wants to say what again on the PowerPoint thing?
I just have a question about that. Were options 2 and 3 part of the free version? Do you
Yeah.
do it with the free version and they're both totally searchable?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because the PDF I think is free, searchable free now, in the free version now. The only issue you might run into is because they're pictures, they're all the slides of pictures, you might hit the limit faster because pictures are bigger files than more documents.
Pretty fast, I have to say.
Huh?
Start uploading PowerPoints, you hit your limit.
Yeah, the other thing is if you're a premium user, your searchability algorithm thingy that they do is prioritized. So, I mean, my text can be searchable within 5 to 10 minutes. Because it takes a minute, because they have to go to them, and then they do whatever they do a minute, and it comes back, basically. You don't really see that happening. So it goes fairly quickly if you're a premium user. It's a little bit slower. I've seen it go a lot slower with people that I've been trying to help with free version.
Are there any tricks with the search? Because I've had a hard time like searching for something and then having it be really broad. Are there any special things you can do?
Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, so searching, at the top upper right corner, if you want to search everything you have, all your notes, or if you want to search within the notebook that you're looking at, you can do a search. So let's say, let's do hypertension. We're gonna come up. So 326 things came up for hypertension, and I can keep, looking. Obviously, what I name my notes will help me sort of figure out what I want to look for. Part of that, I think part of the searching trick is naming and organizing your notebooks a little bit so that you can actually say, okay, I'm going to search in, clinical notebooks, so I'm going to search in third year, first quarter, because I know it was in that time frame. So that's part of it, and I'll show how to organize notebooks in a second. The other thing is they do have this feature called tags. So anytime you create a note, let's go back here. Evernote tutorial. So I can like keyword tags. So like I might want to find this later. If you're the kind of person that thinks like that, because I thinks like that, I can be like, Evernote, PowerPoint. Can you type? So you can create tags, which will then, you can use this tool on the side called tags, and you can look for notes that have those things. So that would probably be like another layer of organization that if you super organize or want to expedite it. I find that, just being able to find stuff, I can kind of scroll through a list of things and try to find what I want just by searching like keywords, because it's finding stuff. That I don't use the tags too much, but I can see it used for it. Okay, so let me just show you a little bit about notebooks.
When you have the picture format of your slides, how do you have the notes onto your notes?
Okay, so underneath, when you have the note, see here's a slide, on the edge, you just click on the edge and I hit return, and then I can type underneath it.
Thank you.
Okay, so these are all shortcuts that I created. So you can create all kinds of notebooks. So anytime you, so you have notes, which is just a basic, Evernote note. So like this is a note. These are all different notes, and they're all within a notebook I called Evernote Tutorial, which if I come over here, you can see it. And then you can actually put a bunch of notebooks on top of each other. So I kind of think of that as like putting a bunch of notebooks in a binder, called a notebook stack. So that's something to think about as you're going along too, because there's usually obvious groupings. So for myself, at the beginning, I just had everything from my first year. I just dragged it all on top of each other and, put it in a stack called ND1, and then I started breaking it up by quarters because I wanted to find stuff faster. So if I click on this stack, it'll expand and it'll show all the notebooks that I had for that year, which are basically what I usually do is create a notebook per class. And then now that I'm in the clinic, I have a notebook per shift that I'm on, because we do all kinds of clinical things sometimes, or cases that I'm working on, and then I can kind of move things around later. But the way you create a stack, so let's use these conflicting changes, is you just drag a notebook on top of another notebook and it makes a stack. Similarly, if I want to unstack them, I can just drag it out. And they kept that stack, I can just drag that out and it'll unstack. So it's pretty easy. You can play with it. The worst thing you gotta do is lose a notebook within a notebook, and then just start opening everything and unstack it. There's another view you can use right here at the upper right corner. There's a notebooks viewing thing, and you can see it this way, which sometimes is helpful as a list. And then if you expand it, it'll show everything underneath. You can also see like what was the last thing you updated, which sometimes is really helpful. Like you don't remember, like sometimes I accidentally drag something to the wrong place and I don't know what it fell in, so I can change it to updated and see, oh, Evernote tutorial was the last thing that something went into. So is that helpful? Okay, so one more thing I want to show, and then I'll leave some time for more questions.
I'm just curious, because right now I'm with OneNote. I kind of just started with OneNote, and I was wondering how it would be if, because I know you can export your files in OneNote onto your desktop, kind of like documents, folders. And then you said that if you bring something in from OneNote to Evernote, you can't edit what you typed anymore, but you can still upload it to Evernote.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Should be able to.
and also there's that Mac PC issue where you can't take what you made from OneNote and put it on an Apple or on a Mac. Something like there was this, you couldn't use one with the other.
Yeah. Well, let me talk to you about it after, because I have to think about it. And I think it's a little more complicated than for this scope of this. Okay, the last thing I wanted, I'm gonna actually get through everything. The last thing I wanted to show is how you can create indexes. So I don't know if you noticed, I had all these links that I've been using today to go back and forth between my notes. So, this was the link to PowerPoint 1. So you can do that, and this was the feature that I loved about Voodoo Pad, was you could create, I forgot what they call it now, but if you name something, then every time you type that word, it would make a hyperlink to that notebook. The problem was I kept running out of names for things, and it was getting a little cumbersome. So, and when I first switched to Evernote, they didn't have this, because I like to kind of create indexes. So the way you do that is, let's say I want to make an index of all these notes that are in my Evernote notebook for my tutorial, like I did on that other page. You just select a note, and you can right-click or command-click, or if you're on a Windows machine, control-click to get the context menu. And then there's this thing called Copy Note Link. Then I go back to where I want. I didn't actually have to go away from this note. So I go back to where I want it, and then I just hit paste. So again, let's do the second one. I can just right click over this one. I don't even have to like go from my note that I'm putting this on. Copy the note link and hit enter. So this is really good for, these are all the herbs that we're covering for this quarter. So I like organizing my BioMed in single herb page notes, because it's sort of like having my own monographs for each herb. And then I can just have this index that I can glance like, oh, these are all in this category. And then I can click on that and I can see the herb. These are the notes I took in class, some of which I highlighted. And then here's the monograph that was given to us as a PDF sitting right below it. So it's all like on one page. And if I just want to read up on that one herb, I don't have to like search through all my notes for that class 3 quarters ago. So, and that helps me to study, because when I'm organizing them into groupings and stuff, it's sort of like you start to have that relational understanding. Wanna make a link to, copy it, and then paste it where you want it, and then it becomes a hyperlink to go back and forth between notes. And then you can use these arrows up here at the top, kind of like a browser, to browse back and forth.
So where all those links are, that's a note in itself in that
Yep.
notebook? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is the note, the link to that note. This is the link to that note. That's the link to that note. Does that make sense? Or sort of? So when they added this, I was like, okay, it's hard to do that out of here, because I, you know, I can make links when I want to make links, and I don't need that to do it.
So if you had a research article that pertained to a couple different things, you could just kind of paste the link at the bottom of your notes, right? And just kind of have that be.
Yeah. Well, let me show you something even cooler. And here's another premium feature. So any notes that you have in your notebook, there's this whole background referencing that's happening. So let me go down to the bottom. So what Evernote's started doing, this has been a few months, is they started putting at the very bottom the related notes. So this particular herb shows up in a couple other notes. So it's kind of, you know, I don't even have to go do that linking now. It'll just show me related things. So like gynecology, let's see. I haven't searched anything yet. I wouldn't search that, but yeah, it'll pull related notes from, I mean, and when you start to have, you know, 3,500 notes, it's kind of nice that it's doing these little things for you in the background. And occasionally I'll be like, oh, I forgot I had that. And it's like, see this little thing at the bottom, like, oh, let me look at that. But then I can also search for it. But it's nice to have the linking possibility. And so that was all I wanted to cover today, because I wanted to make sure I had enough time. So there's time left if people have questions that I didn't talk about that I might be able to answer, or questions about things that I did talk about, or other unrelated questions.
When you're putting Word documents, do you just drag them in?
Mm-hmm.
Because then when I try, I don't know if this is because I put this on my phone before I got Premium, but when I go to something that's a Word document on my phone, it says Quick Look.
Yeah.
Icon.
Okay, that's a good point. So actually on the mobile devices, it doesn't show it inline. That's what this is called, inline viewing. It'll show it, and you have to click on it and it'll download the.
Oh, you just have to do that.
Yeah. Part of that's because the mobile devices don't have a lot of memory, and you don't want to have all that stuff downloading every time you open the thing. But that also brings up a good point, is with the mobile devices, with the premium account, you can have some notebooks be offline. So that makes me want to clarify something. So if you have the computer desktop application, all of your notes are local and stored in the cloud. If you're using a mobile device, it's actually using the cloud to access those notes. It's not storing those notes locally, because most devices, most like iPads and stuff, don't have enough memory to be able to accommodate that. So if you have an iPad that's Wi-Fi only, and you're like, oh, I want to read some of this stuff on the plane, they do give you the option to make some of the notes offline so that it'll actually download to the device. But that's a premium only thing. So you would have to indicate which notebooks you want to be viewable offline, make sure that it synchronizes before you don't have Wi-Fi, and then you can read it anywhere. Does that make sense? So the same thing with the phone. If you want to be able to access a note and you're not going to have cell service. I mean, what's nice about the phone is most of us have service almost anywhere unless you're in the bowels of some, steel building. I don't know where this stuff is from. Yeah.
So I'm just curious how big your hard drive is on your computer.
haven't run out of
This
space.
one was 128 when I bought it 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I just bought, no, this one's more, cause I have like all my home music collection on it. I just bought a MacBook Air, the smaller one, with the smallest, like the 128, and it's fine.
Okay. Okay. And do you know if there's a way, probably not, like with an external hard drive to communicate with that rather than having it on your...
You can try it. Yeah, sometimes running software off of external drive, although this flash drives are pretty fast, but you can try it. I haven't tried doing that in recent years. I used to do it all the time when I was on PC, like running stuff from weird places.
Yeah, I have no concept of like the space on a computer and how much.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot.
Okay.
Oh, I have a problem erasing, I loaded, a PowerPoint and it was super big, and I wanted to, erase it off, and it's not allowing me to do so. Or is it just real easy where I click on it, it says that I'm choosing it, and it's not allowing me to erase it. I don't know if it's a mobile thing, or if I have my MacBook here, it would be easier.
Yeah, it's definitely easier. The iPad, and it has come a long way. It used to be not very easy to use. The desktop's a lot easier because you can do things really quickly and delete stuff and stuff. There's sometimes it's buggy with that. So I can look at it for a little bit. Do you have another question?
How about sharing notes with people?
Oh, sharing notes with people. That's another cool thing. Let's say your friend, missed a whole series of things. So I can actually, let's say this person missed this and I wanted to send it to them, I could just click on this arrow and email the individual note to someone. But let's say, my friend and I are working on a project together in gynecology, and I want to we want to share the notebook, or I can create a shared notebook. Or, like I'm taking Nash New England School of Homeopathy and I had to miss a day. So my friend just shared her whole notebook with me, and so this one right here is her shared notebook. So I can open it and see all of her notes, and I can copy any of her notes to I can see all of her notes, which is fine, and it's searchable, but I can also copy notes that I was missing into my notebook so that I have all my stuff together. But the way that you do that is you just go to the notebook page and you right click or command click, control click, share notebook, and it'll let you invite people to view your notes, or you can tell them, you can make it so it's modifiable. So such as similar how Google Docs works, where you can have multiple people working on it. Caveat is I think Google Docs is a little better for collaboration on things, because this doesn't synchronize right away, whereas Google Docs is synchronizing constantly. So like if 2 people are working on a document at the same time, this will get out of sync, whereas Google Docs is sort of fixed together. Is that better? But it's nice if you have a friend that's missing something, and you can just share your whole notebook instead of sending them like 20 notes.
Well, then so you said you could copy something someone shared with you and save it, do you just right click copy?
Yeah, so like if I go here, right click, copy to notebook,
Oh,
or I can select multiple notes, and then it'll say, what do you want to do? I want to copy. Well, it'll have a right click, copy to notebook. Sometimes it'll let me do it there. Yes?
Will you show the email thing again?
Yeah, so it's in where your name appears on the,
I mean, how to send something to Evernote.
yeah, you just go to your email. I'm gonna forward this, and then I just type it, put that address in. And then, they have a bunch of other tools too, which I haven't, that you can tag stuff and all, but if you wanna tell it which notebook to go in, if you put @ and the name of the notebook at the end,
Okay.
it'll send it to that direct notebook. Yeah, if I don't put it, it'll just go to like a note, like flipped or whatever your default notebook is.
So do you have to be in your Evernote email, or can you send it from your VAS to your email?
No, I'm not, I'm in, this is my home email.
Okay.
And I'm just sending it to Evernote, to that email address that they gave me.
Okay. We're trying to do it, it's not working.
Huh?
Not work, we're trying to do it. For some reason it's not working.
Okay, well, I'll look at it.
Okay.
I will do it. Yes.
Was the hyperlinking a note, was that only for premium?
I don't think so.
Yeah, cause that's not working.
Okay, it's
either.
not working, probably. You can go to their website, they have a list of all the stuff that you can do and not do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
How much is it to upgrade to premium and what's the extra storage you get?
Oh, yeah, okay, you missed the beginning. Premium is $45 a year.
Okay, so it's a
And-
subscription.
Yeah, it's a subscription service. Or $5 a month. So it's sort of worth it, because Voodoo Pad is $40, and then every time he does a major upgrade, it's like another $40. I feel like it's going to, I mean, they're developing, Evernote's developing constantly, and I feel like I'm getting my money's worth for it, because it's sort of like subscribing to any other thing that you might do when you graduate for, up to date or whatever,
So how much extra storage do you get? And if you decide like to go off of premium, do you just lose that information?
No, I don't think you lose it, but you might wanna just look into it. I'm not sure how they reconcile that.
I would lose it, I don't think you lose it, I think you just can't.
You can't add more, you just can't add more.
You can still access it.
Yeah, cause you have it all on your computer, it's just a matter of adding more and more. Well, thanks for coming. If people have questions, they can email me.